Hello, 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 hello. Number one student, Gus, here already. Dong. It's a ProfesorRich, everybody. Hello, today we're going to be talking about passions. Specifically, we're going to practice a bit of listening as well about one of my passions. We're going to try to use some predictive skills to help with our listening comprehension. We will practice listening. I've got a real audio here. It's quite long. About 5 or 6 minutes of audio. Practice using the vocabulary that we mine from the audio. So mining vocabulary from a source, something that you can do outside of class. And then we're going to reflect. And I notice my camera is going out of focus, so let's turn the autofocus off. I hate that. Every time I boot up the computer, the bloody autofocus comes on. Now. Who do we have? Is it just Gus at the moment? How are you doing, Gus? Are you there? Hello. How's the volume? Well, that's a good response. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Audio's good. Fantastic. All right, so talking about passions. So first of all, let's have a look at some questions that you can ask people to ask about their passions. So passion. It's a bit more than just a hobby, isn't it? It's like a... Oh, no. What am I doing? Yeah. I'm using a new streaming software, and it appears to be slightly different than OBS. I like it, though. So, talking about passions, passionate hobbies. A bit more than just a hobby. We've got some missing words there. Had your morning coffee. Yeah, I love having a morning coffee, but I don't do it anymore. I do morning tea because of the digestive effects of coffee. So, Gus and the other person who's lingering, can you tell me what do you think those missing words are in those useful questions while I try to work out how to proportionally resize? Ah, there we go. I've got it. My face. Let's go for that. Up close and personal with Teacher Rich. ProfesorRich, sorry. Today I'm ProfesorRich. Number one. Do you have a passion? Now, normally, I don't like questions that are so simple as, do you have? Right. Like, I might say, what kind of things are you passionate about? Right, instead is a more complex question. But for this one, I think it works, actually, if you say it like, do you have a passion? Do you have a passion? So Gus is stuck already. Do we have anyone to help? Anyone else? Quiet concurrent viewer number 2 or quiet concurrent viewer number 3? Could you help Gus? So there's Gus number 2. When do you start? Listen to the pronunciation. When do you start? When do you start? When do you start doing it and why? When did you start doing it and why? When did you start doing it and why? When did you start doing it and why? Did you have any... No, I don't think it's benefits. Actually, it's really tough. Number 4, it actually is really tough. So let me just give you a big clue for number 4. Hello, people joining in chat. Hi, you're seeing a live English class with ProfesorRich. And we're looking at phrases to talk about passionate hobbies. Guess the missing words. That's right, it's breaks. Did you have any breaks in doing it? So maybe you've been doing your hobby, your passionate hobby for 20 years, but maybe you stopped doing it for a while in your early 20s, for example. Very good. Why do you enjoy it now? What is it about the hobby that you enjoy right now? What do other people think? What do other people think? Brilliant. Well done. Thank you, Gus. What do other people think of your passion? Do you have a passion? When do you start doing it and why? Did you have any breaks in doing it? Why do you enjoy it now? What do other people think of your passion? Passions. So we're going to listen to me talking about one of my passions, which is kind of a clue is in the title of this video. But before we do, maybe let's talk about another one of my passions. I have a few passions. So one of my passions actually is philosophy. Philosophy was what I studied at university. Oh, a passion for learning. That's pretty good. Yeah, I like that as well. I have a passion for learning. I love learning things. And I love learning about new things. Yeah, it's really, really great. I sort of wish we had the kind of society like ancient Greece where you had these kind of academies and libraries, and you know you could just be a learner for life. You know, whereas now the only path for that really is academia. You have to become a researcher and a professor, and there's all kinds of issues with that, in my opinion. But that old ancient Greek thing of going to the Areopagitica, the great hill of Athens, and walking around talking to philosophers and learning things just sounds fantastic. Probably it was horrible. It was probably awful. The life expectancy was probably about 45, and people probably died of horrible diseases. But in my head, it's wonderful. Did you have any breaks in your passion, Gus? Did you stop doing it for a while, for any period of time? And why? Why did you have a break? If you're passionate about learning, why did you stop for a while? What caused you to stop? What caused you to take a break? Oh, strong tea today. Short-term intensity. Right, okay. You mean like you got a bit tired of learning and you just wanted to chill out for a while? Wanted to relax for a little bit? Burnout. Yeah, burnout. Now, you know what's interesting is you're talking about how burnout caused you to take a break. Whereas we're going to hear somewhat of the opposite happened with my passion. So we're going to listen to me talking about my passion, one of my passions. And you can see here some language that we're going to hear me. These are all actual words, actual phrases we're going to hear me say. I don't know if it's a bit small or you can see okay. I think you can see okay. I can see it okay. So I'd like you to just think about what could I be talking about with each of these phrases? What point could I be making? By the way, if you haven't looked at the title, my passion is, of course, video games. So we are going to be talking, or we're going to listen to me talk about my passion of video games. And while talking about my passion, I'm going to say all these phrases. And the question is, why? Why might I be saying? What point? What point might I make for each of these? For example, A, I started to hit a bit of a slump. I felt burnt out. What does that mean? Does it mean like I got really bad at playing video games, so I needed a break from playing video games? Do you think maybe that's why I said that? Possible. I got burnt out with all that video game playing, so I needed to stop playing them for a while. Would anyone dare tell Michael Phelps that he's addicted to swimming? Now, why would I say that? What point could I be making there? Something about being addicted to video games, yeah? Maybe. What about E? I don't know if it was a particularly good investment. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? What's the how does that relate? Well, investment could mean time or money. By the way, hello to all the Russian bots in the chat. Or whatever. Feel free to participate. I do speak Russian. I wonder if they are bots. Like if you live stream on YouTube, you just get these bots coming in and going. So, yeah. Time investment or money investments. Good question. Good question. So, let's move on then. Let's move on. So, what I want you to do is to label the order that these things are mentioned. So, we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have the phrases A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So, listen out for the phrases. And put the phrases in order as you hear them. Gus says, come on, Rich. Are you ready, Gus? Are you ready? I want to make sure that the volume's good here. I'm just going to do a sound test. How's the volume of that? Is it too loud or too quiet? Did you hear that? The dinging? And was it too loud or too quiet? Just before I play this. Loud enough. Okay. So it's about right. Okay. So I'm going to play this audio now. Just tell me if it's too loud or too quiet. So, without a doubt, one of my absolute deepest passions that I have is video games, video gaming. I've been playing video games for a long, long time. I started when I was very young. My dad owned a VIC-20. And back in those days, you had to actually type in the program. That was how you loaded up the game. Now, I don't remember enjoying those games that much, but I do remember just, being fascinated by them. I mean, I was about 3 or 4 at the time. And shortly after that, my dad bought me something called a ZX81 Spectrum. And I think I was maybe 5 or 6 then. And the games on that system were just absolutely fantastic. The graphics were awful, but the gameplay was brilliant. And there was loads of games, because they were made by these bedroom programmers. People who just sat in their bedroom and made video games. And they were just so creative and so interesting, and I played lots of them. And this hobby carried on for years. Going up to university, I had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, GameCube. I really got into PC gaming in the early 90s as well. When I was about 12 or 13, my dad bought me a PC. And he always put it as he saw it as an investment, that it would create some kind of technical ability in me, which was true. But I don't know if it was a particularly good investment, because I spend a lot of time on video games and I enjoy it, and I don't really want to move away from that. I did move away from it though. In my mid-20s until in my early 30s, I really moved away from video games. I wanted to focus on my life, my career, and all this sort of stuff. And, I got very serious about things, and I started to only want to do things that were in some way beneficial in a kind of personal development sense. And I carried on with that, and I did make a lot of sort of progress in many ways in my career, in myself, in my fitness, in my understanding of the world, and, professionally. And a lot of people might have seen me as being, successful and ambitious at the time. And I started to hit a bit of a slump in my early 30s, I just felt a bit burnt out. Like I'd just been working for so long, and I'd kind of forgotten really what my passion was, what was my joy in life. So, I thought, hey, it's been a while since I played video games. Why don't I give that a bit of a go? And I just, had like a little laptop or something, or even, I might have even been some mobile phone games. I just played a few, and I just played loads. It's just like I picked it up and played it. And these weren't even particularly good games, right? Because it was on like a rubbish laptop, or it was on like a mobile phone. But I was just playing loads, and I just decided, right, I've got to get a gaming PC again. First time in maybe 6 or 7 years. So that's what I did. I spent quite a lot of money on a big PC, and just immediately everything clicked again. And I'd been a games journalist before. When I was at university part-time, worked as a games journalist for about 6 years part-time, and I immediately got back into that. I started doing these online interviews with games developers and stuff, and I did that for about 4 years as well. And just everything came flooding back, all of the passion, and it was like this thing had been missing from my life, for so long, this kind of intellectual stimulation. And I wonder if some people might call it an addiction. They might, because it does take the place of other things. But what is the difference between a real passion and an addiction? It's a difficult question, isn't it? I mean, would anyone dare tell Michael Phelps that he's addicted to swimming because he was swimming for 7 hours a day? And you can go on and say, well, he won these gold medals at the Olympics. That's a great achievement. And it's like, yeah. I mean, but that's arbitrary. Why swimming? Why not video games? You can win awards in video games. I don't think I'm going to win any. But then, are we going to tell everyone who's passionate about swimming that it's only worth doing a lot of swimming if you can win a gold medal at the Olympics? That doesn't seem to make any sense. So, I think where I stand on this now is, you don't, obviously, if it's taking the place of everything, that's a problem. That's a problem. But if you have a relatively functioning life, then I don't really think it matters how much of something that you do, as long as it's not particularly harmful, you know. And video games for me, just brilliant. You know, how much do I play of video games these days? I would probably say a minimum of 20 hours a week. And that's going to seem insane to some people. But it's actually not that much. It's nowhere near the amount of swimming that Michael Phelps does a week. And I love it. All right. So that's a pretty long listening, but there's an advantage to using an audio here rather than me talking directly. And that's obviously that I can do some vocabulary mining beforehand, before the class. Which is where this comes from. Thank you very much, Gus. That's a lovely comment. I'm not sure if it was that compelling, but I did my best. So I would like to know, Gus, how you did with the order. Did you get the order that the things were mentioned in? This is a classic listening comprehension activity. So, what was the first thing that I mentioned? You can just say the letter. You don't have to type the sentence. If you have the letters. The letters are there. You didn't take notes. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Well, you know the order, oh yeah? Go on then. I've kind of given it away then, didn't I? You just selected it. And for you listeners at home, I'll give you 30 seconds before I reveal the answers. Yes, one is G. That was about 3 or 4 at the time. Oh, D2. Okay. He's making a guess now. Wow. No. You missed C. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Good. Nice try, though. Nice try. So we got G, GCD. Well done. Oof. Wow. Impressive. Impressive. Pertinent. Derek's gone. Scared him off. Are you stuck? F. FHB. Close. I mean, H and F, F and H. I think I said both of those things pretty close together. So this is the order. You got it almost entirely right, Gus. Really good. Really, really good. Impressive. So obviously the narrative, the story helped you to remember that, which is nice. It's nice. So we could talk about some of the meaning here. I mean, let me just see what the next page is. Right. We could talk about the meaning of some of these things with... Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's like real life, isn't it? To be invested in the story and to actually listen, you know. And I mean, these sorts of activities are very unrealistic. They're synthetic. They're really exam-based activities. This idea of like writing things down and ordering things while you listen. The idea of the activity really is supposed to be just to make sure that people do listen and to have something to check. The thing is, if you're a language teacher and you say to everyone, okay, everyone, listen to this, and put something on for 6 minutes, about 90% of the class will just fall asleep. They sort of need an activity to occupy their mind, to keep them focused on it, which is why we have those sorts of activities. So we could have a bit of a look. But there's other uses to it as well. We could have a bit of a look at some of these pieces of language that we've come out here, because there's some interesting pieces of language here. Yeah, that's great. Some other interesting pieces of language here. So I don't know if it was a particularly good investment. Do you know what I was talking about when I said that? What did it relate to in the story? It's a good guess. No, it wasn't the PC, actually. Funnily enough, although I mentioned it after I mentioned the PC, in my chronological order, it was actually a reference to something before that. And what it was something about... Maybe it was around the time of the PC. It was the idea that my dad thought it was a good investment, and maybe it actually wasn't clear from the audio, but it wasn't the idea that the PC itself was a financial investment. It was that my dad thought that me playing video games and spending a lot of time with computers, so buying me a computer, in other words, my dad thought that was a good investment in, yeah, that's right, so I mentioned the technical skills in the audio. So the investment was supposed to be kind of in my future in technical skills. And in some ways it paid off, because my technical skills are pretty good. You always go on about my typing, for example. I mean, the fact that I've been using a keyboard since I was about 5 years old probably contributes to my typing speed. So, yeah, it's true. But on the other hand, gaming occupies a huge amount of my time, and I enjoy that. But maybe if you want to be successful in the world, then, I could be spending those 20 hours doing something else. Whether I should or not is something that I would argue about until the end of time. I'm not the fastest. I have friends who are faster than me, but I'm not bad. I think these days, to be honest, people just can't type like they used to, because people are too busy using phones and tablets. But in my day, computers were king. It was all about computers, whereas I think now in schools, they sort of focus a bit more on tablets, and you don't give a computer to a little kid anymore. You give them a tablet, right? But I had a computer when I was like 5 or 6, my own computer, ZX Spectrum with a keyboard, right? And I don't think that really happens anymore. So I think that's why these days people don't tend to be as good at typing as, in the past, which is a bit odd, really, because I still think typing is a very useful skill, although voice recognition is getting better. That's true, and it is getting to the point where voice recognition has the potential to replace typing. All right, so we got all kinds of vocab there, haven't we? So this is sort of a thing. This would be an activity where you get to practice some of that vocabulary we've just looked at. You can see some of the expressions we've got here. And this is what vocabulary mining is. It's when you listen to an audio or you read a book and you identify phrases within that book which might be kind of interesting, that you might like or you haven't used before, which is why we've got phrases here like a bit of a slump, and things like that. Unfortunately, I didn't actually do a meaning, kind of a meaning practice on these, so maybe we'll just talk about that for a minute. So get into something, that means become interested in. Hitting a bit of a slump. What do you think that means, Gus? Hitting a bit of a slump. If you hit a bit of a slump, what does that mean? It's pretty similar to in a rut, I guess. Yeah, I would say it's not quite as bad as being in a rut, because people talk about being in a rut and it's like they can't get out, whereas a slump might just be a more of a temporary situation. Yeah, but yeah, that's not a bad analogy, being in a rut. And for the viewers at home, you hit a bit of a slump. It means something like everything just started to kind of get slower and more grindy and more difficult, and you didn't feel so positive about everything. This is a bit of a slump, okay? Right, then we've got burnt out. I think most people know that. When you just do something too much, you work too much, you study too much, and you just like, and you suffer from burnout. Burnout is a real thing. Even if you've got all of the energy and motivation in the world at the start and all of the determination and persistence, burnout will happen eventually. You can't stop it. Everyone burns out. We're not robots. What about everything just clicked? What does it mean for something to just click? Any ideas for that, Gus? It just clicked. Not sure about that. Hit it off. Hit it off means like you get on really well with someone who you've just met. Starts to feel right. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good explanation. Yeah. So I would put it as something like you have a sudden, rapid increase in understanding of something. So if something just clicks, you have this sudden, rapid increase in understanding or ability in a certain area. So someone else might call it like an aha moment or a sudden burst of inspiration. It's like you're trying to understand something, you're trying to get it, and then suddenly, boom, it just clicked. Everything came flooding back. What's that mean? Yeah, kind of like the aha moment. The only case the aha moment wouldn't apply is with related to skills. Because with skills, aha moment is more of an understanding, but it cannot, something just clicking can actually apply to skills. Like you're trying to learn guitar and it's just not working, then suddenly it just clicks and you can play stuff. All the emotions came rushing back to the surface. It could be related to emotions, but it can also be related to just remembering how to do something. So like you haven't driven a car in 10 years and you get in the car and you're like, wait, how do I do this? And then you put the key in the car and you start the engine, and then suddenly it all comes flooding back and you remember how to drive a car, right? Like that. So it doesn't have to be emotion. It can just be memories and knowledge as well. It could also be emotion. You know, when I saw my my old enemy from school, then, you know, it all came flooding back, you know, the anger and the upset and the blah, blah, blah. It's a bit of a terrible example. All right. Okay, I'm not going to go over the others. So what I'm going to say is, for you guys at home and for you, Gus, after class, if you'd like, comment down below. Give an example of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These can be ors rather than ands. You don't have to give an example of all of them. Now, why? Why would we do that? Why would I ask you to give an example from your life, which you can invent if you want? You don't want it to be a personal example, then you can make it up. Why would I ask you to do that? Well, this is something called personalization. And personalization is when you take a phrase or piece of vocabulary and you apply it to yourself, either through something real or something imaginary. The point is you need to create it and you need to apply it. And when you do that, that process of personalization actually increases highly the probability that you'll remember that piece of vocabulary, because you're connecting it to things that mean something to you. So personalization is a very powerful tool for helping to expand your vocabulary and helping to remember phrases. Yeah, personalization is great, and it literally is just the task on the screen, right? So you just follow that task, and you can post in the comments down below. And if you don't want to do that, just do it at home on a piece of paper. Give an example of a time when you really got into something. Let me give you an example. So if I think, I need to not think of video games now because we've already done that. Think of a time when everything came flooding back. Well, to be honest, every time that I sort of am in a situation where I start to speak Spanish for a decent amount of time, to start with, it's a bit clunky. But then within like a few days of being in an environment of speaking Spanish, it all comes flooding back. So then my personalized example, after I've come up with my little story, then I might actually write in my vocabulary book. This would be my vocabulary notes. I might write right, it's a verb phrase. Okay, everything comes flooding back, or it all come flooding back. And then I might just have my example. There we go. And that would be what I'd call a personalized example, which, as you can see, makes a good addition to your vocabulary notes. So if you were taking vocabulary notes on, oh god damn it, if you were taking vocabulary notes on, there we go, on that, then that would be an excellent addition to your vocabulary notes. I'd probably, what else would I put with this? I'd probably put like a kind of definition in my own words as well, something along the line of everything comes flooding back, like a moment when you remember, when you instantaneously remember some a collection of things or a skill which appeared once forgotten. All right, my definition's terrible. It's way too complicated, so sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, this would be a nice structure for vocabulary notes. Phrase, synonym, personalized example. Not just any old example, a personalized one. And that's what it's all about. I got into learning English because of video games. Brilliant. Great. Perfect example. I seem to remember that you don't play video games now, though. No? I think we talked about that at some point, and you said you don't play video games anymore. So, a bit of reflection. Think about the new language you saw today. And what did we learn today about how you could use real-life videos and audios to improve your vocabulary? Did we talk about that? Is there something we did in today's class that you could use in real life? Well, Gus, I'd only recommend it if you have a lot of free time. Hello, Mai. Nice to see you. We're kind of getting to the end now, but you could watch the video afterwards. Who knows? If I picked it up again, everything could come flooding back. Nice. Gus is going crazy with those personalized examples now. Fantastic. Well done. So, Gus, maybe you could have a guess here. You could answer this question. How could you use real-life videos and audios to improve your vocabulary outside of class? What did I sort of show you today, which is something that you could do outside of class? Can you remember what it's called? Yeah, you've got it. Well, both of them, actually. Yeah, nice one. You could use both of them. Vocabulary mining is specifically what I'm thinking of when it comes to this real-life videos and audios. Something called vocabulary mining. And if we have a look, I mean, all I did, when I did this vocabulary mining, I listened to my own audio. I did not have these planned out. My audio was totally natural. I spoke it in a completely natural way. And I listened to the audio, and every time I heard a phrase that I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting, I just made a note of it, right? And that's where these phrases came from, which is why a lot of them are kind of phrases like these interesting phrasal verbs or interesting vocabulary. This one here is just a bit of a starter, just to get you going. It's always good to make the first question in any activity to be an easy one. Right, and the idea is, in general, you want it to kind of get harder as the activity goes on, right? Which is why we've got kind of a bit of a more complex one there at the back end. All right, so I hope that's kind of clear. I hope that's been useful. Here's your homework. Okay, you don't have to do it. It's an optional homework, but write a short email talking about one of your passions, post in the comments. I will correct it. Try to use the target language. Or no, try to use the phrases. Try to use some of the phrases we learnt today. Don't put me on the spot like that, Rich. What are you talking about? You did amazing. You remembered that it was vocabulary mining and you did it. Brilliant. Good stuff, Gus. I'm glad that you're getting something out of it as well. So, there we go, folks. Thank you very much. Any quick questions before I wrap up? I want to go and make my lunch. I haven't had my lunch yet today, which is probably why this tea is hitting me like a ton of bricks. I've been working all day. Does anyone have any questions on their mind? Mai, do you have any questions you'd like me to talk about? I'm happy to hear that you're looking forward to watching the video. I quite enjoyed that. And Gus's testimony is that it's good. All right, no questions. Well, thank you very much, guys. And thank you very much for everyone watching the video at home. Please do smash that like button, hit subscribe, notification bell on, and more important than anything, share this on your social media, because I'm definitely not getting the exposure from YouTube that I used to. So basically the only way that the channel's going to take off again is if people share this somehow with their friends and it gets picked up like that. We need a burst in popularity in order to break into the YouTube algorithm again. So that's what I'm aiming for. So yeah, please share it wherever you think you have a bit of a following and people might be interested in coming to some live English classes. Live English classes are on the channel, youtube.com/ProfesorRich, and you can see there there's an intro video, and below the intro video you'll see all of the upcoming live streams. The next live stream is going to be tomorrow, and it will be about 3 hours on from this. I think it's about 5:30 British summertime, BST. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good one, and I will catch you later. Thank you.